Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack how a 1500-year-old Buddhist text, the Nirvana Sutra, uses some seriously vivid metaphors to completely challenge our perception of reality. If you've ever found ancient spiritual texts a bit dense, you're in the right place. We're going to see how this text brilliantly uses relatable, everyday images, like an illusionist's magic tricks, summer mirages, and even a rampaging rogue elephant, to help beginners easily grasp some incredibly complex Dharma concepts and profound practices. So let's jump right in.
Here is a quick look at our agenda for today. First, we'll cover the concept of no fixed characteristics. Second, the illusionist and the mirage. Third, the rampaging rogue elephant. Fourth, guarding the five senses. And finally, the ultimate goal, moving towards eternity, joy, self, and purity.
All right, part 1. Understanding no fixed characteristics and how it actively challenges our perception of reality.
So the absolute foundation we need to grasp here is this concept of no fixed characteristics. In the original text, it's referred to as Wu Ding Xiang. Basically, it's the idea that all worldly phenomena, literally every single thing we see, touch, and stress out over every single day, are actually entirely fluid. They don't have permanent reality. You know, our untrained minds, we love to put things in boxes, right? We label things as absolute. This is definitively good, this is completely bad, or this is going to last forever. But the sutra pushes back on that. It teaches that form, sound, smell, taste, touch, the whole shebang has no fixed nature. Realizing this, that's your very first step to unlocking real spiritual clarity.
Moving on to part 2, the illusionist and the mirage. This is all about how our own senses actively deceive us. To really drive this home, the Buddha uses this incredible image of an illusionist creating fake armies. It perfectly illustrates how our reality is essentially just a highly convincing magic trick. Picture this. You're standing in a huge crowd watching a master magician literally conjure up chariots, foot soldiers, elephants, horses, and even sprawling forests and cities out of thin air. Now, the sutra points out that an ignorant child would look at that and think, wow, an actual real city. But a wise person, they know it's a complete fabrication. And that's exactly how the world we experience through our senses works. It looks and feels incredibly real, but underneath it all, it has zero permanent substance.
This comparison brilliantly highlights the massive divide between us ordinary folks and the spiritually awakened. The sutra literally compares us to ignorant children who chase after summer heat mirages, desperately thinking they're real pools of water. Or, we hear an echo bouncing off a mountain and we think it's an actual physical person talking. But the wise, the bodhisattvas, they see right through the illusion. They look at the mirage and know, okay, that's just heat and light playing tricks on me. And because they understand that, they don't suffer the disappointment when that fake water inevitably disappears.
Which brings us to part 3, the rampaging rogue elephant. Let's look at the sheer danger of an untamed mind. So if everything is an illusion, what happens when we don't realize it? The sutra paints a pretty terrifying picture here. Without mindfulness, your mind isn't just wandering, it becomes a wild rogue elephant. And because it is completely untamed, it takes over. It physically carries you, the helpless rider, far away from the safe city of nirvana. Ultimately, you get thrown straight into this endless, perilous wilderness of birth, death, and suffering, which we call samsara. Honestly, it's such a powerful way to explain to a beginner just how dangerous letting your mind run on autopilot truly is.
And the text makes a really fascinating distinction that puts this into perspective. I mean, you'd probably think being crushed by a literal physical elephant is the absolute worst-case scenario, right? But think about it. A physical elephant can only end your physical life. It just destroys the physical body. But an untamed mind, your spiritual rogue elephant, along with the bad habits we indulge when we aren't paying attention, that will completely destroy your dharma body. It wipes out countless good deeds. A physical elephant cannot send your soul down the 3 evil paths of suffering, but that spiritual rogue elephant, it drags you directly there. So the stakes of spiritual practice are actually way, way higher than just physical survival.
Let's move to part 4, guarding the 5 senses. This is where we get into the intense, practical application of mindfulness. To stop this spiritual elephant from stampeding, the sutra gives us this incredibly tense analogy. I want you to really imagine this. You are carrying a bowl of oil, and it is filled to the absolute brim. Now you have to walk through a chaotic, massive crowd for 25 miles. But here's the catch. The king has ordered a man to walk directly behind you with a drawn sword. If you spill even a single drop of that oil, he strikes you down on the spot. Under those conditions, you absolutely wouldn't be checking out the crowd, right? You wouldn't be distracted by the sights or the noises. You would have pure, terrifying laser focus. Well, the sutra says we have to guard our five senses, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, with that exact same life or death intensity. Now, I know that sounds incredibly stressful, but the payoff is massive. By maintaining that intense level of focus and guarding those five roots, you stop chasing the illusionist's parlor tricks, and you immediately unlock some profound benefits. You gain deep wisdom. You achieve total single-mindedness or true concentration. You finally stop exhausting yourself by attaching to fleeting worldly things. You sidestep the dangerous traps of the five desires. And most importantly, you halt your mind from scattering like that rogue elephant. You're finally back in the driver's seat. Finally, Part 5. Towards eternity, joy, self, and purity. The ultimate destination. This brings our explainer perfectly full circle. Remember at the very beginning we talked about no fixed characteristics, how everything in our day-to-day life is fluid, impermanent, and essentially an illusion? Well, here is the incredible contrast. Unlike the mirages of our daily lives, the state of true nirvana actually does have fixed characteristics. It is the ultimate, unchanging reality, and it's marked by four things: eternity, joy, true self, and purity. It's not just some empty void. It is the ultimate fulfillment once all those sensory illusions are finally stripped away. So the ultimate question you have to ask yourself after taking all this in is this. Knowing that so much around us is just a mirage, are you going to keep letting that wild elephant of your senses run your life into the ground? Or are you ready to pick up that bowl of oil, guard your mind, and find true eternity, joy, self, and purity? Think about how you're reacting to the illusions in your own life today. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the Nirvana Sutra. Take a moment, take a breath, and let's start taming that elephant.